dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world. Yep. What's up? It's your boy Humble Dad back with another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. Got a great show for you this evening. How do I know? Because I said so, and we typically do. We're going to be talking about if men are leaders, why aren't women listening? And this just kind of derived from a conversation that I had over on the Lapeef Network. And the young lady was talking about how men need to do a better job of leading. And I communicated to her that men are talking and telling you things that they will require, but it seems like y'all probably are not listening. But let's talk and see what the ladies say tonight, as well as the gentlemen. And forgive me, I'm a little under the weather, but we're gonna rock out anyway. And so we're gonna start with this video.
A lot of dudes be wanting to lead, but you hadn't even proven to be dependable. Like if the car break down, you're gonna be able to take care of it. Like, if something go wrong in the house, is you gonna be able to take care of it? Y'all outside and something jump off of you, is you gonna be able to take care of it? At the end of the day, like, it's our job to take care of that woman. So for her to trust your leadership 100%, you gotta prove you're capable of doing those things. And fact is a lot of men are not capable of doing all those things. You don't do a well enough job of taking care of yourself. Like, how is she supposed to expect you to take care of her? Like, you don't manage your own finances well. Like, you still owe money in the street right now. But she's supposed to entrust her finances and her livelihood with you. Leadership has never just been something that's handed to you. Like, you gotta prove that you're capable of doing it. You gotta make the people that's following you believe that you're gonna be able to take care of them regardless of the situation.
And we're gonna bring to the stage first Mr. Prototype in the building.
Did you press the clap button? Yeah, it didn't work out.
That's unfortunate.
Oh man, what he said sounds good, but in actuality, we know plenty of men who aren't doing what they're supposed to do, not following their word, not holding the standard, and they get women to listen to them. So, I get the integrity of it, and he's kind of giving you the guidelines of how to get women to be submissive to, or even to be, people to follow you, but like I said, I don't think anybody has to be perfect. Sometimes you got the machismo to convince people without showing them, so
That's what's up. Appreciate you being here. And welcome to the stage, none other than T, the Cooking Counsel. What's up, Miss Lady?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing all right.
That's good. What you got on the video? What's your thoughts?
I agree with, I think what he said sounds ideal, but I think definitely there's a lot more to it than that. And like Prototype said, you got men who don't really, be doing what they should be doing and get that. So I think there's a lot more things that go into that. I definitely think respect is a thing. Like a lot. Like you can have, be with someone, but I think if you don't respect them, that's going to probably be one of the biggest factors that goes into why maybe a woman isn't, going along with that man's leadership. I think I think respect is a big part of that. And I mean, and sometimes it may not even be the right woman for you. I think there's just a lot of different things. I think when it's the right woman for you, I think she will be more naturally submissive and go with your leadership. But we can get more into that later.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. Hey, no
Thank
worries.
you.
Absolutely. And welcome to the stage. She been gone for a minute. But anyway, it's me, Jamie, in the building.
Hey, thank you for having me back.
Oh, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? What you got on the video?
It sounds good, but I do believe that the core probably problem is like, what is leadership?
Yeah,
Like,
we'll talk about
you know
that.
what I mean? What is leadership? Because we have had so much tainted, skewed versions of leadership, even from the top to the bottom. What does that look like exactly? And if we can't identify what true leadership is properly, then all of this other stuff that we hear really doesn't matter, right? People follow what I've noticed in society is it's easier for people to follow a liar than it is for somebody that actually has good character. And that's the truth, right? We see it all the time where I'm like, they don't live that life. Like, why are you listening to them? And they still hone into that liar versus somebody that has character.
Wow, that's what's up. Better start it off again, Miss Jamie. And welcome to the stage, none other than Sir Hale in the building. What's going on, sir?
Hey, good evening. Salute to the humble dad. Shout out to Prototype T, the Cooking Counsel. It's good to see you. And it's me, Jamie. What's going on? Hey, chap. So I don't want to disagree too much with my good brother Trill. I love what he does, but I think that it is very oversimplified. Like there's this idea that you get into a relationship and then the man has to go on proving himself. The underlying thing here is that if this woman was really looking for a leader and he wasn't that, she would have never chose to be with a guy like that. So we have to have some accountability in a situation like this where you're choosing somebody who is not already exhibiting leadership and then going on this campaign to make him prove that he's something that you committed to him for before he showed those signs. So I think we got to discuss that, but that's my answer for now.
That's what's up. Appreciate that. And welcome to the stage, none other than Miss Eileen. How you doing, ma'am?
Hey. I think that's kind of like what the cooking counselor said. It's just more behind it when it comes to leadership and a female being submissive. I do feel like some men are not built to be leaders, and some females are not in that submissive stage. But I feel like there's so much that goes behind it when being a leader. Like, there's a sense of direction, focusing on, achieving certain goals, but also respect, right, and confidence. And so I just feel like there's a lot that goes behind the leadership and being submissive and all of that. It's good stuff.
Okay, that's a good start. I like that. I see where you're going. Appreciate that. And welcome to the stage. We have a new person, Miss Shay Harris. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing
Miss Shay,
well. Doing well.
good.
Pleasure being here. Nice to meet you guys.
You too. What you got on the video? What was your thoughts?
Well, as I listen to everybody talk, I agree with everybody, but for me, I think what's happening in relationships is you have a lot of broken people having expectations from broken people. And it's like people are going into relationships expecting somebody else to heal them, expecting for somebody else to fill their cup, and they're empty and expecting it from an empty person. And I think we see it all the time, and I think it happened a long time ago. And I think that we have ascribed, especially since we're all African Americans, we're all Black. I think we have ascribed to the culture's view of what love is, and it's so jaded that I think we just need to start over from scratch. What is love? First of all, I don't know what anybody's beliefs are, but I believe in love. I believe God is love, and I think we are doing love without love. Most of the relationships we see are built on lust, materialism, and all those outside factors that diminish what love really and truly is. It's not pure love. It's let's take some pictures. We want to have a pretty picture. And I don't know, and I think it's hard when people aren't being genuine. we see it all the time, you know, women going after men who have the clout, and a lot of them are broken and they're looking for somebody to save them. You have men who are saying, I need a woman to be my peace, but do you have peace? Personally, do you have peace within yourself? Because a person can't be your peace. Your peace you have to have peace. A person can be a peaceful person and bring their peaceful presence into your life. But I can't give you peace, bro. I mean, if I'm peaceful and you're peaceful, we're gonna have peace. But if I'm peaceful and I come into your life and you're broken and looking for me to save you, yeah, God didn't mean I don't feel like God meant for us to save each other. Like all these songs and stuff, that sounds good, but our being saved is personal with our Savior. And I mean, that's just me personally. I think love is lost because we keep looking for people to save us. And I think that's why women don't respect when she comes in, she's looking for him to save her. If he is not rescuing her with her bills, if he's not, you know, putting her on a pedestal or putting her on a platform, you know, making her famous, it's just crazy. I'm sorry. I deal with it in the media, and it's pretty disgusting to me right now because I don't know. I grew up, you know, with a mother and a father, and I saw what love looks like. I saw them ebb and flow, go through the ups and downs, and make it through it. And right now, it's like if you don't meet my needs immediately, I'm out. I'm like, what? So that's just that. When I look at God's videos, I love him, you know, because he doesn't beat us up. You know, because so many podcasts beat women up now. It's just like, what did we do? And so I appreciate his podcast.
That's
and I appreciate what he said.
Interesting statement. Beat women up. Some sound issues. So when you just put yourself on mute. None other than the Barry Whites in the streets. Lost translation. What's up, homie?
Good evening, Humble Dad. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right, bro. How are you?
Doing good. Can't complain, man. Glad to be here, man.
It's a bit. Glad you're here. What you got?
Here's my thing, man. When people say that men aren't qualified to lead in situations like that, I beg the question, who's the qualifier? You know, are you experienced enough to know the difference between a person who's a leader and who's not? You know? And it's one of those things where people like to question leadership when they haven't really been leaders themselves. So how can you qualify somebody to lead you when you don't know what leadership looks like? You know, are you a good follower? I don't think that most people realize that when you go to a job or something like that, they're asking you questions to see if you're going to be a good follower. Can you follow directions? Are you a good fit for the company? You know what I mean? And I think it's very hypocritical of people who are looking for a leader to call the leader to the carpet and say, hey, I understand you're hiring, but how are you guys? You know what I'm saying? That type of thing, which is a fair question. But at the end of the day, these people have a business, they have a culture, you know, and they just want to know if you fit in. But for the most part, I think a lot of times, man, people, when they start asking questions like, you know, are you fit to lead? My thing is this, are you fit to judge? You know, there's usually two types of people in this world. There are people who are thermometers and there are people who are thermostats. People who are thermostats control the environment. People who are thermometers just tell you how it is. So my question is this, when you're questioning somebody's leadership, are you looking at a thermometer or are you looking at a thermostat? That is the question. And do you know the difference?
That's what's up. Hey, this is a really good start. I understand the premise. I think that the part that is true is that a lot of men don't necessarily know how to lead because they didn't necessarily have the direction or the leadership to know what it looks like to lead. So that's the part that I do agree with. I also think that there are women that are not good followers, and so to have that as a situation makes it very tough to operate in a society such as the one that we have. So I believe that if we can teach men to be good leaders, and women do their job in preparing women to be wives, then we'll have a better relationships. But in but speaking from that and transitioning, this is the first question. Define the responsibilities of a leader in a relationship. Define the responsibilities of a leader in a relationship. And we're going to start with It's Me, Jamie.
Okay, well, I'm semi-prepared because I Googled it. I did. I Googled it. We're going to go with what Google said because it technically pulls the mindset of everybody. Not everybody, but the majority, right? So it's really simple too. I just thought that was interesting. It says, guides the relationship towards a shared goal, respecting and communicating with their partner. That's it. It's just two things. Two things lead it, like just two things. And that is what describes a good leader or the responsibilities of a leader in a relationship. Communication, collaboration, respectful, and compromising. Now there's something that's listed there, compromising, which we don't see a lot of times in leaders. So that's going to be my answer. We'll start off with what Google said, because that's where people are going to go when they look for stuff like, what is my man supposed to be doing? You know, they're going to Google it. So I'm just helping everybody out. Let's go with Shay.
Well, okay, so I was going to say what you said, but because I feel like these things go on, like protection goes under guidance, you know, provision goes under all those two things that you said. Those things go under that. And I mean, that's literally what a woman wants, you know, but you have to also define what a woman wants and what a girl wants, because we see a lot of girls that guys are choosing, and they're choosing each other, and they're doing this because they don't have the same goals. And in my mind, the men that I grew up around, like my dad, my brother, my uncles, my friends, they are men who take pride in being able to do those, you know, to fall under the umbrella that you just gave us, because it makes them feel like they are men. And I'm sorry, I take everything back to the Bible, but in the Bible, men were providers. You know, they made sure their women were good, and women flourish like flowers. When a woman is covered, she will be the best she can be. And guys, by default, you're going to be the best you can be, because she's going to pour into you in a way that nobody else could, because you have shown her, I got your back. When we feel secure, we know how to make you feel, you know, we know how to make you feel like a man. But if we're not able to feel secure, if we're always feeling insecure, we're gonna nag, we're not gonna be our best selves, we're not gonna feel safe around you, and it's just not gonna work. And that's just the bottom line. And bro, I lost in translation. I totally, you know, understand where you're coming from, because women are there are so many disrespectful women out there. It's heartbreaking, because listening to you talk, I know you've been disrespected, right? But I want you to please, because some of these podcasts, you have so many of them who are women this and if it's not women putting men in generalizations, it's men putting us in generalizations. And that's partly where we're messing up right now. Black love is in trouble. And we've been the bearers of love. And yet we're allowing other people to make us feel like, and I'm sorry, I feel like social media did this to us, divided us, and put a line between black men and black women, and they're making us feel like we hate each other. I don't think we hate each other. I think we've hurt each other. And I think if we could, I feel like let's do a forum where we apologize to one another. Instead of debating what's wrong with us, let's look at what's right with us. And let's harp on those things and be honest and transparent. Hey, you hurt me when you say this, and I know I can't be this to you, and I know that's what you need. Help me. And very rarely will a man ask for help. And women, we're busybodies. We want to fix y'all. So I think it's innate to want to heal y'all. And a lot of times we step over our boundaries. But I think all of us really are looking for healing. and we're looking for it in what we know love is supposed to be. But we got to stop beating each other up in the process, because that's what we do. We play the blame game instead of getting that mirror and saying, okay, what did I do?
I got you. Okay, so who you got going next?
Sahel.
Sahel.
This show's about to take a turn. So we got a bit to discuss. So I think I like this question because it makes us examine what we think a leader is. So our ladies have a definition, and typically the definition that ladies have is about what the man can give to her or do for her. So if we define leadership mostly based on what he does for her, it's going to take away who he is, because when he can't do for her in the way she thinks he should do for her, he gets demoted as a leader, and then he has to go back and prove himself. So let's start here. Here's what a leader actually is. A leader is mission oriented. So whenever we talk about submission, we talk about, somebody being a leader. This means that they have a direction with or without you. This means that he was going where he's going, whether you get on his program or not. And you have to make the determination whether or not your skill set, your beliefs, your values align with his, and then submit, because he's going with or without you. So a leader is someone who has a mission. He is not afraid to lose you. He doesn't want to live without you, but he will if he must, because you come second to his ultimate life's purpose. And the woman who is made for him will understand that and will align in a way that makes his life easy. So from this mission, let's get into what Jamie said. Let's get into the communication and the collaboration. All these things are components of what leadership is, but without the mission, none of these things matter. And then what will happen is we have these things, what we call shifting definitions. So based on the circumstance, collaboration looks different. Based on the circumstance, leadership looks different, is because definitions shift when there is no clear mission. So here's what a leader is. He is mission oriented. He is blazing a trail. And if for a woman to determine whether or not he is a leader, it cannot be determined on how much he gives you. Can he pay for your French, for your French manicure? Can he pay for your pedicure? Can he buy you a dress? Can he pay your car note? Can he pay? Because there's a whole lot of men who can pay for you but can't lead you. There's a lot of men who can sex you down and can't lead you. There's a lot of men who can acclimate themselves to give you what you want, but they are not a leader. Leaders are people who are capable of telling you no, not because they are trying to control you, but because their job is to be a leader and they do what's best for the mission. Let's go with Eileen.
That was some good stuff right there. First, it's crazy because I recently just bought this book called Love Languages, Devotion of the Bible. And one of the first things it says, it talks about being a man being a leader. So I just wanted to read that little passage real quick. So it says, husbands and wives are obviously different, but God intended these differences to complement each other. The husband who views his wife as a partner has taken the first step towards becoming a loving leader in his marriage. So I definitely feel like communication is important for a leader to have, right? Because if you communicate assertive, like you let me, like if you feel confident, if you have that confidence, if you have that strong sense of direction, then I'm going to follow you. Because that confidence, that assertiveness, that lovingness, that being the fact that you're communicating, you're leaving an open communication allows me to feel comfortable enough to want to follow you in leadership. So, yeah, that's my answer.
All right. Who you got next?
We're going to go with prototype.
Uh-oh.
Oh man, there's a few points I need to hit, right? Mr. Sir Hell. Dog, when I'm right, man. We went back and forth the last episode about leadership and if a man's going to get there regardless of the mission, right? And you just said it just had to sink in. You went back and forth with me, but it sunk in and it boom, it hit, right? So it's cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Whoa. We got to come back to this after your answer.
we could, but I said it last week, you know what I'm saying? But I just love to see the prophecy, you know what I'm saying, fulfill itself.
We're going to address this because I'm not quite sure what we're referring to, but we're going to address this.
HD no. But man, Eileen, thanks for, also the bravado. Like I said earlier, if a man has a certain bravado, you're gonna follow the lead. You know what I'm saying? Regardless if he's able to prove it to you or not. But to the question though, the responsibilities of a leader, I think those responsibilities go to like inspiring others, the one that take the initiative type stuff, like, you know what I'm saying? So if you can be inspirational and you can and you can like go ahead and be like, hey, we're starting the job, you know what I'm saying? Hey, let's get this done. Lead a group, you know what I'm saying? So, but that comes with action, you know what I'm saying? Like I said all the time, men respect another man who's disciplined and another man who shows integrity. So if I see a man that shows discipline and integrity and he's fit and you know what I'm saying, he's like, hey, come work out with me. I'll look at him like, oh, he's in the gym every time, all the time. He's disciplined. He eat right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm gonna go work out with him. You know, because it's just that's what leadership does. Leadership is a form of showing people that you can do it at the same time. But I mean, a lot of us get mistaken for, oh, just because a dude could talk loud and talk fast. I can't stand talking fast people. Like as soon as you get to talking fast, I'll be like, nah, you trying to joke me. So, but yeah, that's what leadership is. Trying to leading somebody to the common goal. It comes with some discernment there. You know what I'm saying? So we'll go with what's up, Dwayne? How you been, brother? It's your day today. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you rock.
Man, it's been rough, man. It's been rough. I had to show Trump he could not work me. Speaking of, I gotta do it. Gotta do that. Just for you, Proto. Just for you. Just for you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'll let it make it. Man. But I'm wonderful. Actually, today's my birthday, man, and I don't really celebrate birthdays too much,
Happy
but
birthday, brother.
I appreciate that.
Happy
Happy
Yeah,
birthday to
birthday.
you, man.
appreciate that, y'all. But yeah, God's been good, so I gotta give glory to Him. So day's been good. Define the responsibilities of a leader in a relationship. Well, Sir Hale, I think you did a fantastic job setting that up, because I was thinking of it more of a like tasks, but a mission is well put. Is well put because it is mission. But before that mission, and you touched on this too, the man has to have a purpose. The man has to have a purpose. So a responsibility of a leader, he has to have his purpose and be able to outline that purpose in a way that y'all talked about from the communicative standpoint, that it's not just what you say, it's also what you do. So people will follow you based on their observation of you and what you stand for. So in that, they have a responsibility to have a purpose. So that's my answer. Lost, you ain't yet?
Not yet.
Come on, baby.
Appreciate it. Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, And I think, though, no truer words have been said, especially in relationships. Now, last week, Sir Hale said something that was very profound. He said that his wife asked him a bunch of questions before she decided to, hey, sign up for the mission. And I think that's a very good indicator of somebody who's looking to support, someone who's looking to be a part of the mission. If you get into a conversation with somebody and it always boils down to what's in it for me instead of what's in it for we, then that's an issue and that's a problem. The responsibilities of a good leader is to define whether or not those who sign up have the capability of being good followers and being able to assist. Even in the army, in the armed forces, everybody doesn't make it, and it's hard to put it that way, but everybody can't make it, And I think as men, we have to look at at what's really going on in relationships and say, hey, look, is this person equipped to go along with the mission? And sometimes you're going to have to tell them no, and the reasons why. You know what I mean? The reasons why is are you someone who actually asks a lot of questions? You know, do you look for solutions? You see what I'm saying? Those type of things. Do you support those who support you? You know, good leadership is one of those things that defines whether or not those people are going to be a good fit for the mission. You know, it's one of those things that's very underrated in leadership. As being a leader for the past 20 years myself, I look back and I had interviews with a lot of people, and I can tell during the interview whether or not this person was going to be a good fit because of the questions that they ask. And then the examples that they gave. Is this somebody who can actually think through a process? Is this somebody who's equipped? Is this somebody who can move when we move? Because everybody's job is not static. Sometimes there are situations where you're going to have to move on a dime, and you may not always get filled in at that particular moment in time. You know, it's on a need to know basis. That's pretty much like how the military works, you know? And my thing is this: if you get into a situation where we're going to be questioned every 5 minutes, I'm just going to say, hey, you're not equipped for the role. So I'm going to have to find somebody else who knows what to do. You know what I mean? And my thing is this: it also comes back to having practice. You know, are you having conversations that are productive? You know, when we have conversations, is it one of those things where you ask questions about me, or is everything always about you? Those are some of the things that we as men look at. We may not vocalize it, but these are some of the things that we think about, because we already know what our role is. Our role is to make sure that we take care of you. But also the secondary function is to make sure that you have the ability to take care of us while we take care of you. Does that make sense? Because your job is to be of support. Your job is to undergird those who help you as well too. So if you're able to make sure that you're helping the major part, the front lines, you have to realize your role is just as important, you know, and you have to be able to be okay with that. And sometimes people are not okay with that. Sometimes people want to be in the front, or they want to have all the shine. Well, my thing is this: when we win together. You know, it's just like when you win the Super Bowl, it's not the quarterback that wins the Super Bowl, the whole team wins. You know, they don't just say, oh, Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl. No, they say the Kansas City Chiefs won. You know, they don't look at it that way. And I think a lot of times people have a hard time separating themselves from the team. And I think a lot of times we have to look at ourselves and say, hey, look, are we a we person? Are we a me person? And sometimes your language will tell on you. We may not always tell you exactly, you know, how we feel. That's the reason why a lot of people don't go far in relationships. It's just like, this ain't a good fit, you know? So my thing is you have to be good at what you're going to be doing. If you're going to be a follower, be a good follower. Ask good questions. Ask for clarity. Clarity is one of those things, man, that greases the wheels in relationships, that makes things go, you know? If you don't ask for clarity, then, you know, we don't know if you don't understand the mission. And that's the whole purpose of communication, right? Right? Okay.
That's what's up. T, have you went?
I don't think T's went. T, you went?
No, I haven't. But man, y'all all I everybody's answer, like everything was so good, especially Sir Hale. I really liked how you were talking about the mission, because I was like, when I think of like a leader and their responsibilities, I'm thinking like confident in like your purpose and your plan. Like, what are you here for? What is your family's goals, and how do you get there in the safest, most effective, loving and leading way possible? As simple as that can sound, there's like a lot more to that. But when I also think of it, I also think of someone, the responsibility is being disciplined, being dedicated, being dependable, Because it's one thing to say that you can do this and do that, but it's another thing to actually have a whole family, or, you know, just even your partner, your spouse, like depending on you to do what you say you're going to do, to show up, to be accountable, to be responsible, to manage the money well in a way where you guys are taken care of and provided, to be dedicated enough to show up for work even when you won't want to go, or, you know, show up for your family when you don't want to show up, or even show up for yourself when it's challenging. You know, so I think it's like a combination of things that make, you know, that a leader is responsible for. But I definitely think knowing what your purpose is and being confident in that, and being confident in what your goal is for your family too. So, but yeah, I like everybody's answers. This has been a really good one.
That's what's up. So I guess a quick question. Oh no, so Hale wanted to know about Proto. Now, last week, Proto was explaining that a man has his responsibility, can do whatever he needs to do or get to wherever he needs to do without the woman. And you said that woman is supposed to help him get to where he needs to get to. So that's what he was saying. That
Yeah, so
always come back to him being
you
right.
know, I'm always flattered by Prototype's ability to subsume my responses to make it appear that I'm agreeing with him. But I'll jolt his memory so that we can recollect and we can make some sense of it. So what I said is that I will get to where I'm at, but a good wife is an accelerator. I said that she's an upgrade, and so the time that it would take for me to accomplish is expedited in the presence of a good woman.
You remember that product?
He said that was the cleanup version. That's after I said he was getting there.
Those were my exact words.
That's
Wrong to say.
after the cleunup. That's when you cleaned it up. But
Listen,
before that,
I
he
appreciate
was
the
like,
compliment,
I
Prototype.
couldn't
You're
get
a good
there
man.
without him.
We just gonna have to go watch film on it. That's
Yeah, we could watch film on it, but you was like, I can't get there without him and XYZ.
No,
I was
no,
like,
I never
you
said
just
that.
gonna get there. A woman's not gonna pick a man that wasn't gonna get there with or without her. Like it just is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
That wasn't it. So I gave you the
Yeah.
analogy of the video game. I play God of War, and I said there's certain things you can do, but when you get certain upgrades, you get to unlock certain realms and get there faster. So So a wife is not the catalyst for you getting where you need to be. And this is why the Bible refers to her as a helpmate. So this means you're going to do what you do in the first place, but a wife comes and helps you to accelerate this and unlocks things in you that you didn't even see before. So a wife is not the purpose. She's a helpmeet to the purpose.
Wife don't unlock nothing, but okay, you got it.
Okay.
This dude crazy. All right, so the subject matter is if men are leaders, why aren't women listening? Then I wanted to know, what does it look like, and I didn't have this in my notes, but what does it look like for a woman to be listening? What does it look like for a woman to be listening? How does that make sense of a question? Okay, so for example, what I mean by that is we just talked about defining leadership, and all leaders have followers, and those followers should be listening. Now, what does it look like from your perspective for them to be listening to your direction? Is it always the matter of that they're doing exactly what you say all the time, et cetera, et cetera? You know, I don't like to give too much context. I like for you to give it to me. Right. And so I'm wondering, I'm gonna start with the guys first. Dwayne, what you got?
Man, appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard? Because they have their own free will.
I didn't say why is it so hard. I said, what does it look like?
Well, what does it look like?
Yeah.
It looks like them having their own free will. Okay, that's what it looked like. Why is it so hard? And I think in that it's like, man, hey, I'm sorry. Free will is crazy, and God is good for it, right? It's like he gave you like some people like, man, why didn't he make us choose not to love him and trust him? Because it's free will. He gave you the choice to either go along with it or reject it. So in it, even though we might provide opportunities like Peter walking on water, he walked on it, right? Everything was good. and then he looked away and he lost faith and he sank. I think in relationships, that same thing can happen as well, even to a good leader. So just free will. So man, that's a tough one for me. So that's the angle I'm gonna take on it. T, what you got?
Question is, what does it look like to know, like, when, like, you're listening? I think that is like being respectful, feeling understood, feeling seen. I think being agreeable to some extent, like even if you don't necessarily fully agree, but you're asking questions to get clarity on why are we doing this, or why is this the direction that you want us to go. I think it's the opposite of being like combative with it, constantly every 5 minutes you're like, why. It's, you ask the question, you get the clarity, and you trust it. It's being trusting as well. Like you feel it when somebody is respecting like what you're saying, and like and when you're being listened to, you feel respected, you feel heard. I feel like you don't have to keep repeating yourself. I think that's another thing. Like when you're being, heard, so maybe something you may have to say once or twice, but it's not something that you have to keep on saying. I think there's just a level of trust that's there too. So I'm going to go with Sir Hale.
Thank you so much, T. So I like what you said, and that's where I was going to go as well. I is a late 30-year-old person. My perspective, for those of you who don't know, I've been together with my wife for 20 years, married going on 18 years this year. As a young man, let me tell you the truth. The first thing is I thought my wife was listening if she didn't have no questions. Because this is too much, woman. I'm trying to be a leader at 22, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't got time for no questions. I don't know how to answer it right now. Do not put me on the spot like this. I don't. Right. So, as I get older, though, a good sign that a woman is listening. There's two things. The first one is that she has questions. I don't believe a woman is hearing you if she doesn't have perspective or something to say. This is for me. The part of the modern culture, what men say these days is, men don't care about your degree. I absolutely care about your degrees. I care about your education, because it is not the degree itself that I care about. It is your ability to learn something, to sit there and to put yourself through a program and to force yourself to learn something. So if you can listen and learn, that to me speaks to your ability to hear. That speaks to your ability to listen. So the other thing is follow-up questions. So it's if I'm going back and forth with my wife, I'm not with her because I need her to act like a robot. So I don't, get on there and get in C# and create a package and download it into her, and she executes that program like she's a robot, like a computer program. I got with this woman because intellectually she stimulates me. And when she's listening, she can take my thought and make it bigger. Like that to me is a sign that she's listening. And I think that men who don't understand the nature and the usefulness of women, their idea of her listening is him giving orders, and she asks no questions, she has no perspective, and she just does it. I value a woman who's a thinking woman, who has questions, who doesn't question me, but who has questions for me, if that makes sense. So I think those are the signs of listening. So she has questions, and then she has follow-up questions. Those are the things that I think. Let's go with Shay.
Shay, you're mute.
Yeah.
Okay, I was in and out trying to fix my video, but I heard some really, really good stuff.
You wanted
I
the
think
question
men,
again?
a lot of men now. Okay,
You
ask
need
the
the
question
question
again.
again? The question is, what does it look like for a woman to be listening?
To be listening?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, please understand, God created us to do that. We're like sponges. We want to hear, we need instructions. A woman can't follow you if you don't give her instructions. If she does not know your plan, your dream, your goal, if you have not made that clear, she can't identify really where she fits into your plan. We need that from men. A lot of men don't communicate that. So a lot of times we're just on the fly trying to figure it out. And a lot of times we're wrong. And then y'all don't understand that we're wrong. We don't know what we're doing. We're just trying to make it work. And then a lot of times you get mad and you say we don't listen. But if you don't clearly, if we don't understand what the mission is, we can't really get behind it. We'll try to fix it and try to, a lot of that, I think that a lot of times that's why men think women are trying to control them. But we're like, we need some steering here. Like, give me some clarity so I'll know what it is where I'm going, that ride or die. Where are we going? Where are we riding to is my question, because I ain't trying to die for foolishness. Now, if we're riding and dying to make this dream work, then hey, I'll roll up my sleeves, let's make this happen. But if you just on some garbage, and a lot of men are, I'm sorry, but a lot of brothers are, I ain't dying. If we can't ride and live, then I'm sorry, because that ain't the mission to die. No, we need to ride and fly. That's how I look at it. I think there's a misnomer, and I think it's from the culture that it ain't love if it ain't blood, sweat, and tears. If she ain't crying all the time, her stomach ain't hurting, she ain't stressed out, then she don't love you. That's dysfunctional. And so I feel like a woman innately wants to hear from her man, where do I fit in your plan? Because if I know where I fit, we can roll. We can do this. But if I'm trying to figure it out all the time, I'm confused because you're confused. Or you're handing me confusion on purpose. And sometimes we're trying to figure that out. Is he confused or is he just manipulating me? So please understand, a woman, I'm not talking about little girls, a woman wants to hear what you want. Because if I don't know, I can't read your mind. So I might be wrong, but I'm trying.
That's good. That's good. Your camera froze. Who you got going next?
I don't know what's going on. Oh, who's going next? Let's see.
Amy,
Lost in translation. Lost in translation.
I kind of figured you were coming to me. Holy Spirit said, hey, take it from here. Ladies, I'm going to fill you in on a little something. This attitude about whether or not, I'll get on board if you do this. I'm here to tell you it's unacceptable. In case nobody told you before, it's unacceptable. And I'm going to tell you why. In order for you to be effective, you have to be completely bought in to the mission. And I'll give you some examples. Say, for instance, I got a podcast this week. Okay. And if you don't ask me what I'm talking about, you're not vested. If I say I'm going to be talking about this and you don't say, hey, have you thought about covering that? You're not fully invested. All you just saying is, hey, I'm behind you 100%. If you make it, you make it. If you don't, oh, well, that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Let me give you some examples of how an effective person or partner works in a relationship. Okay. That person sits down with you and they talk about exactly what you're doing. They plan in advance. Say, for instance, they fill out your calendar, or you guys say, hey, look, I anticipated you doing this, that, and your calendar looks kind of full. So I made some time to do this X, Y, and Z. Those are some of the support things that show that you actually buy into the mission at hand. That's the whole purpose of a help me. And I think our culture has gotten a bad habit of just, telling men, get it how you get it. And when you win, we win. That's not how that works. And you know how I know it doesn't work? Because I've done the research with other cultures. And you know what they do? Their women roll up their sleeves and they don't make any bones about it. I think it was a while back we talked about the Lanchero lady, on TikTok. I don't think y'all remember that. Well, it was these Hispanic guys were going to work at these construction sites. Wife didn't fix them no lunch or nothing. Well, guess what? There's this lady who has a lunch truck. They call her the Lanchero lady, and she brings all kind of food, snacks, anything, drink, soda, whatever it is that man needs, and he buys his lunch or whatever. So when he gets home, she asks him, hey, have you eaten? And he was like, yeah, I got a little something to eat. And she was like, well, what did you eat? And he said, the Lunchero lady showed up. She was like, oh, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me somebody else fed you? Well, ladies, let me ask you a question. What did you think he was going to eat?
Did you hear what I said?
You know, men don't run off of thank yous in air. You see what I'm saying? My whole thing is this: if you ate, don't you think your man want to eat too? You know, that's the stuff that I'm talking about, and letting you know that our behavior toward our men is unacceptable, because you already know what you expect out of him. But my thing is this: do you know what you expect out of yourself? And that's why I'm letting you know that what we've been doing is dysfunctional. And it's probably the reason why we're a little bit farther behind than we really need to be. And I think sometimes some men are afraid to tell you to your face that it's unacceptable, because they got a little skin in the game, because, you know, they're having a little show here and there, and, you know, you can pick up a little product on your way out the door to support the cause. I'm here to tell you, I don't have anything to sell. I don't. So I'm just telling you, on behalf of other men, roll up your sleeves, you know, because we're doing our job. And for you to question us without offering support is mighty high of you.
Man, who you got?
Let's go with Dwayne, man.
Did I already go on this?
Yeah. You didn't. Yeah, you did. You did go on
Oh,
this.
yeah.
I don't think Eileen went.
Come on, Eileen.
I kind of like what Sir and kind of what you left off with. I think is not to question, but ask questions, right? Like, I'm not questioning you, but I want to ask questions to gain clarity, because you are the leader and I do want to follow you. But without clarity, I wouldn't know how to show up for you. And I think my biggest thing is I like to do check-ins, right? With my partner. I like to see where you need me to show up for you today, because today might be crazy and you may not be able to bring your part in it. So I want to be able to know that today I'm going to be able to do my part and your part. But without clarity, I'm going to assume you're not doing your part because maybe something of me, right? So I feel like I'm not going to question you, but I'm going to ask questions, because I want to be able to show up for you in ways that I feel like you need me to show up, whether it's today, next week, however. But with those clarities, and once I see how, with the clarity, I feel like I will follow willingly. So I think not to question, but just to ask questions.
Not the question, but to ask questions. Proto, did you go? All right, let's get it, Proto. What does it look like for a woman to listen?
I gotta jump on it real quick though. Hold on, time out, man. The women. So there's two perspectives that's being told, right? The men, you know, Loss and Sir Hal, so how they're saying the same thing, right? And then the women are saying, you got to give me clarity, you got to give me direction. And this is what I've been telling y'all. Like, so I understand what the fellas want, but we're not going to get that. Maybe after time, I don't know, after some molding, but they're telling you, we're here to do whatever you tell us to do. Lead us and give us the direction. The expanding of idea stuff that we keep talking about, we keep wanting out of women, they're not doing it. So y'all are giving this advice to young guys, and they're expecting to get this expansion of ideas, and they're not going to get it. You're going to keep them single. Nuclear families are not going to be developed because they're just not meeting in the middle. The middle is, fellas, know your mission, know what you got to do. Get the woman you need, and that's going to do what you tell her to do, and you can give her clarity, and she's going to listen. Listening from a woman is you telling her a task, and I think it's done over and over and over again. You know, here I don't want to mix it. I don't want to confuse it for attentiveness. You know, because women can be attentive, and that's when they like look at you and be like, oh, he needs this. He likes this kind of lunch. Let me get that kind of lunch, right? Which is a very rare trait that women will do. Like, it's when we want, but it's just rare. But for instance, if you tell a woman, we got kids. Moms can get frustrated with the kids, and they tend to snap out sometimes, like, "Oh, what, blah blah blah," right? So there was a time where I was just like, "Hey, do not act annoyed with my sons." You understand? So moving forward, she doesn't act annoyed, and I see her having to let me make sure I don't respond in a negative way to make him feel rejected. That's knowing a woman's listening to you. You know what I'm saying? Because I notice she's acting annoyed because she's hearing mom a million times a day. And now when I address it and that behavior changes, she's listening. But up until that point, she don't know that she's not can't do that or that's not acceptable. And us expecting a woman to know these things like she's us is unacceptable. That's not fair to her. You understand what I'm saying? We're different for a reason. They need guidance and communication and a plan detailed out. And those they'll follow it step by step. Men are like, oh, I shouldn't have to tell you step by step. Listen, you should just know what I need. And that's going to keep us single and the expanding, like, oh, a woman that's going to expand my idea and blah 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 blah. That's not going to happen, fellas. Get you a woman that's going to listen to the idea and execute how you told her to execute it. Period. Let's go with I think T. Did you go yet?
T went. I think everybody went on this one.
Okay.
Everybody went on this one.
Well, so with this, if you don't mind, can I respond to that?
Yes.
While I appreciate my man Prototype, I think we're so used to this is why I say I like an educated woman. When a woman is not educated, and I don't just mean school, I mean trained, you got to go in telling her everything. A lot of men get with women who need a lot from them, and they define their manhood based off of how they had to build her. Most men wouldn't know what to do with a ready woman, have no clue. She would intimidate you. She would make you feel like you got to level up. And this is what I'm saying. It depends on what age you meet this person. You have to have a woman who comes in ready, who knows something. Like she has people who she's around. She has mentors. And of course, there are going to be things you have to say 100%. But no man who has a mission has the capacity to focus on the largeness of the mission while still giving training to the woman that he's with. Now, what we do is provide direction. I can say that we provide direction, but the little micromanagement of things, we don't have time for that. Which is why you have to have a woman who comes equipped with a baseline of skills so that you guys can move forward. There is nothing there. If you marry a woman before you recognize she has a deficit, then you have to raise her. I talked about that in the last show. If you have a woman and you marry her before you knew what you needed, then in some ways you're going to have to raise her. Ladies, we're not trying to infantilize you. This is just a statement of fact. But with the knowledge we're providing now, the goal is to empower men to make these good decisions so that they don't have to make regressive decisions and end up feeling like they're raising somebody who can't help them, right? So if you marry somebody this way, then yes, you have to. But I'm telling you, you won't get the best out of a woman if you're responsible for every one of her decisions because you have to micromanage her. You got to be able to give direction, and she's got to be able to follow that plan.
Ladies,
Can I? Okay.
Go ahead.
I think that's where, where the Bible says that the woman is the weaker vessel. I think it's in that regard, because if he made us to be for each other, Adam had to give Eve instructions. And Eve, because she knew her role innately, she was able to fall in line, although suffice the apple, we're not talking about the apple, but it's just in us to follow the leader. Now, we are nurturers by nature, so that's going to always come out. And I was listening to Lost in Translation. We literally, we really want the instructions. And when we ask questions, it is in us to ask questions. And when we ask questions, we're not trying to question you. As somebody else said, we're asking questions for information so we know what we need to be doing. And when we're a smart woman will take something that you give her and she will create something and make it better. because that's what we were created to do. If I'm chosen, my goal is to make our lives better. Whatever he gives me, if he gives me a seed, I'm going to plant that seed, and I'm going to try to make some stuff happen with that seed that he plants. And I don't think a woman who really wants a husband, who really wants to be yoked up with a man, wants to be in battle with him. And I don't know. I just feel like there are undertones of hostility. That part the man has to fix himself. That part he has to, because I think there are a lot of insecurities in relationships between women and men. Women who are micromanaging a man, what you doing, where you going, da 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 da. That's insecurity. A man who do what I say as I say, that's insecurity. And I feel like there's so many broken people who are getting together, broken, and you're creating brokenness. And I think that we would all do well to do the work first, instead of coming into the relationship trying to get fixed inside of a relationship. Before I go into somebody's life, I want to have done whatever work needs to be done. Nobody's going to be perfect once you get into the relationship, because you have your own way of being and thinking and all that. But I think if we all remember that love gives the advantage, love gives the advantage. Love does not take advantage. And I think that's what we're seeing a whole lot of. People going into relationships and taking advantage of somebody else's love, somebody else's care. Love gives the advantage.
You, Shay?
Huh?
I have a question for you. You
Yes,
speak
sir.
about. Do you remember when I think it was Sarah? Was it Sarah? She called her husband Lord.
Yes.
Do you think that if he said to do something, that she just didn't do it, would you then consider him insecure?
Wait a minute, say that again. Because
So
I thought that was a beautiful part in the Bible that we don't talk about, that she
right.
reverenced him
Your
as
statement was that men who say do as I say, there's an insecurity.
No. Okay. Do as I say, and I know you got my back, and I know you're my protector, you're my coverer. Okay, I do as you say. But do as I say, those are two totally different things. Okay. Because when you're doing this, now I'm afraid. I feel insecure. I feel like you might do me some harm. And because a lot of women have been harmed, and that's a trigger for them. I mean, you got to know your person. You have to know their past. You have to know where they are emotionally. You can't just, when a man tell you, y'all, come on now. That's not even maturity. Mature people can talk to one another. We can agree to disagree. If you cannot agree to disagree, you don't have a relationship.
Okay, this is
you're not mature.
An interesting position for me, and I'm gonna ask everybody that women that profess to be Christians, and I'm just, by the way, I am a follower of Christ. They profess to be Christians, but they have a whole different concept of what their leader should be once it comes to them having to follow their husband. But however, if they have a boss, they're going to do exactly what their boss says and win. They're not going to do a lot of questioning their boss, because from that position, they are somewhat insubordinate. So my question is, why do you believe that women believe that they have to have a say in what the man is going to do? I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I'm asking. And this is the question that I had came up with. How do evolving roles for women in society, example, greater career opportunities, financial independence, affect traditional views of male leadership? Because if a man says, a man should not have to say, do this because I said so. It sounds like that came to a point of where she wasn't doing it in the first place after he had made the request.
Or maybe he watched his dad be very aggressive with his mom.
No.
I'm confused.
No. What I'm saying is, if I say, hey, I need you to go make me a sandwich. Why I gotta make you a sandwich? You need to.
Oh,
Why you just do
oh,
it? Or
I got it.
hey, listen, we're about to. I don't know. We're about to go somewhere. Can you go get dressed? Why am I going to get dressed?
She doesn't understand the mission.
Okay. So is that on, but why does she has to understand the mission in order to just go get dressed? The question should be like,
Because that's her personality. You have to, okay, what you're asking, that's a general, what you're saying is so general. It depends on the woman, because a woman who is for that man is probably already making him a sandwich. And if he says, babe, let's do this or whatever, she's game with that. It
right,
depends
I
on the woman.
was giving an example. Your statement was that if a man says, go do it because I said to do it, I'm saying that why did it even come to that point? Because if he is her leader, then why didn't she just go do it? And so I was generalizing, but I was giving you an example to provide some type of context. That's what I'm saying.
She may not be for him. She may not be for him. I mean, and we have to consider that everybody that's together is not for each other. There are a lot of people who don't like each other. People claim to love each other, but they don't even like each other. And they live together, they're married. I mean, when people like each other, that stuff is just easy. If a person there again, that's animosity to me. And like I know, this whole I'm in my soft era. Well, what is that? What's a soft era? What era, what other era were you in? I mean, because you were created to be soft. So what is all that? And again, it goes back to healing. If a woman has a chip on her shoulder, she's always like, what? Sis, calm down, but that's because something's going on in her spirit. And I mean, that's a generalized question, because I wonder sometimes, like, why brothers have the microaggression, and that's what women have. It's microaggression.
Okay.
And no, that's just how I see it. When you're for each other, you're for each other, and you ebb and flow. You have fun, and I'll go get the sandwich. What do you want me to get your shoes? I mean,
I got you.
It depends on the woman.
On this. What do you think about the question?
I think
I'm asking. Hold on, Shay. T, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
All right. So the question, I think things aren't as traditional as they once used to be. I think the cost of living is a lot more. So I think you have women working and contributing financially a lot more. Not every situation, but I do think there are definitely a lot of women that are having to, work a lot of hours sometimes. So I think sometimes the responsibilities get off balanced. And I think that sometimes that can create extra, additional pressures that affect, the leadership, and a woman respecting a man's leadership if she's feeling overwhelmed or not equally supportive with the kids, managing, things around the house, whatever it could be. But I also just think that I really blame a lot of it has to do with the economy. We're just not in the same place. Not saying that, there aren't situations in households where there is one income or just, one breadwinner. But I think that definitely is probably the thing I noticed the most that impacts that, is that you have both parties having to equally work. So you got 40 hours here, 40 hours there, and then there's still all these other responsibilities. And I think sometimes that can impact how women are responding to their man's leadership now versus before, where, for instance, like my grandma never really worked till she was 45 by choice. I think women getting to work because they want to and because they're just passionate about something is completely different than them having to bear the responsibility as well. If it's like you have to, like this is a thing. If you don't work too, we may not have our home. I think that's a lot of responsibility for women to take on, that I think, back in the day, a lot of women didn't have to take that on as much as I think women do now sometimes. So I think that definitely has caused some strains. So I'm going to go with Sir Hale on this one.
No, I'm gonna have Eileen go, and then I'm gonna hear what the ladies have
Doing
to
all
say.
females first. Okay.
Yeah, on this one, I appreciate you, bro. That was a request by somebody.
Wow, I was like caught off guard.
How do evolving roles for women in society affect traditional views of male leadership?
I mean, I agree with T. Honestly, I feel like a lot of things have changed that have. I don't want to say doesn't allow us to be in our soft era and stuff like that. But then I kind of also go with Shay because I feel like it has to deal with a lot of things that we've experienced before, right? Like trauma and things like that make us a little bit more aggressive and having to take charge. But then at the same time, I do agree, like, you make it for what it is. If you want to be soft and listen, and then you will. If you want to be a leader and be combative, then you will. I just feel like depending on how you want to show up, I do get that obviously society, right? I think a lot of times people use what's going around to kind of dictate how you are going to show up in life. But I feel like the world is still going to be going. Things are still going to be going crazy. And I feel like depending on how you choose to kind of show up would affect basically your movement and what you decide, whether to be a leader, whether to be submissive and things like that. So yeah, that's my thoughts process.
Okay, so yeah, on you.
I really appreciate what you said there, Elaine, about you choose how you show up. That I think we've got to insert that more into the conversation. That's a very good point. To Shay's point, now Shay, how you doing? Hope you're having a good night. I want to address something you said because I can tell that you are a very strong. Let me say it different. I don't like the concept, the connotation of strong woman. That kind of has negative connotations. But I can tell that you are cerebral and you're thoughtful. I am concerned that when we talked about, a man leading, it shifted to abuse. It shifted to the negative. And while I know that this is not, I can tell that you are very well-rounded, very educated person. So there's no question here. But I've noticed that a lot of women have this abusive, this attachment of abuse to leadership because they hear pieces of terrible stories which are real. So everybody, I don't want to overlook this point. The data shows that there are a lot of women before they hit teenage years, they have literally been abused, literally, whether this is sexually, this is emotionally, this is physically. And if they have early childhood trauma, any form of aggression, whether that's I told you what to do, it triggers something that they haven't probably even addressed. So that's a very real thing. So in the absence of trauma, if a woman hasn't dealt with that herself, it is secondhand trauma. Her mother or grandmother or auntie passes down what she dealt with, and now she vicariously takes on those feelings that she didn't live herself. And she projects that kind of abusive nature on men who probably are just decent men. And so I'm saying that to say that what we see today, the finances, the opportunities that women have, it is not that a woman is naturally submissive. A woman is not naturally submissive. A woman is unnaturally submissive. And what I mean by this is it is in a woman's nature to take charge and to go do it herself because she's got something to prove. This is why the scripture has to tell women. It has to tell women to be subject to your husbands in everything because it is not a natural thing. And taking that into account, it makes a woman have to look at and examine herself and to see which part of her would come into conflict with a man who really is a leader, right? Because that it stems back to Eileen. It is how you choose to show up. So if you don't make the decision to choose to show up as a woman who has helped and not feel threatened when you get told to do something, because of course you got your degree. Listen, you went to Ivy League college. I mean, you smart. You got your doctorate degree. Listen, you don't pledge to your sorority. You making good money. You got good shoes. You got a fur in the back. You got a Birkin bag. It is easy to overestimate your submissiveness and quality by looking at what you've acquired, and what you've acquired is things. It is not character. It's not personality. It's not dependability. It is not cooperation, which is the things that from a Christian perspective is where the Bible tells women you find your value. It's not the outward adornment of jewelry and clothing, but it is the inward position of that woman. So I said that to say, if a woman is triggered because a man says make her a sandwich, and he says it just like this, well, first of all, if he's a good man, he knows how to talk to his wife. But a woman cannot project her triggers on the one who triggered him, particularly if he's not the cause of it. That is something she has to work on. And I'll say this last thing. If she has a problem with being told to have a sandwich, then it cannot be said that this man is something wrong with him. Because if she says, hey, babe, can you go check the door? I heard something I heard something. That he doesn't get to be triggered and have an attitude. Well, let's talk about this. Why you talk to me like that? Why you telling me to go downstairs? Because we have to choose how we show up each time, and we can't project our response onto the other person. That is an internal work. All right. So I love what you said, but I just wanted to put that point out there in the most respectful way.
You're on mute, Shay.
I totally agree with what you're saying. And I hate that we use something as trivial as a sandwich, because we know that the average woman is not going to do that over a sandwich. But I know a lot of them do. So let me not, again, I'm not going to generalize because everybody's different. But where it pertains to trauma and abuse, men and women have trauma and abuse. And I think both men and women bring their trauma and their abuse into the relationships. And I just wish we would, that's why I hate this whole, well, why do you think women have hair triggers and what, men do too, men and women both do. It's an individual healing thing that has to happen, because if not, we're going to keep having these podcasts, having the same conversations on every single podcast about what's wrong with women. We can have that same conversation about men. We are all needing to, if you haven't done the work, then we're going to continue to spin the same wheel, going through the same cycle. Everybody is an individual being. And, me personally, I'm not into bags. I'm not into the culture like that. I feel like I got left off back in the 80s or something like that. But I really think that I'm taking it back a little bit further. I really believe that we got lost in the culture as Black folks. In the 90s, we were going to college. We were all in the news. And night after night, we were reporting the stories about how Black women were breaking records, going to school, deciding to build businesses and all that stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of brothers got caught up in the game. A lot of them got caught up, selling marijuana, and it was all by design. We know that now. It was all by design. Wanted to be rapper, just so many different things that got them off track. And then as a lot of men started seeing us going to school, record numbers of enrollment, the manipulation, of course, of what we were watching on television started to change. We went from Different World and the Cosby Show and all these empowering things to BET After Dark, Girls Gone Wild, all the stupid stuff, and gangster rap and the video hoes and guys choosing that kind of woman. And somewhere we got lost in our relationships. We went from being the relationship people, the love people, love songs, everything. Now everything is soft porn. It's like we're trying to live under a standard that does not belong to us. We're living under a culture that was given to us. We've been manipulated, and we're having to have these kind of conversations. White people aren't having these conversations.
They are.
We are.
They are.
They're loving it.
No,
they are loving seeing us fight each other.
Shay, white people are having these conversations.
They are? Okay.
Yeah, they're having this conversation in every demographic as it relates to how women are now versus what they were before.
Yeah.
This is not just to our culture. So
HD though, that it does speak to that particular point you made, that in media our issues are more pronounced because we make good entertainment off of us. So everybody deals with it. It's just that ours is marketized because we look.
Yes.
This is gonna sound crazy. We make everything look good. We make crazy look good and entertaining, but
Right.
this is across the board.
And I mean, and that's the thing that you're referring. If you're referring to the things that I'm thinking about, the reality shows, right? It's a matter of them saying yes to the dollar,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
these entertainers have said yes, so you can videotape us and we'll act a fool just so that we can get this money, you know. So, Dwayne, what do you think about the question?
Man, I appreciate y'all's perspective. Um, I really do believe that from our society, as a matter of fact, let me specifically. How do evolving roles for women in society? How do evolving roles for women in society? Example: greater career opportunity, financial independence, affect traditional views of the male's leadership. I think each of y'all touched on it. Going back to Shay's point about culture, culture is big too. Sir Hale, I believe it was you that said it was a secondhand trauma because Ellie, I believe you brought up trauma as for the trusting piece of things and going through and looking at it. I'm gonna go back to what I said first off. Individual choice, free will, free will, absolutely. Because had to look up the stat. Average age for someone to get married is 29 years old. All right. Average age for someone to stay inside of marriage is 8 years. Forgive me. All right. I'm only working with a GED here. But if I take 29 and I minus 8 from an average, that's 21 years. So, from a traumatic standpoint, right, you got 21 years to build up all these experiences in which you have developed before you get married. And that's both, to your point, Shay, male and female. And then we bring our baggage of trauma and things in which we go through into this marriage. My question is, why did we get married? Did we get married just to be together for the 8 years? Because somebody, as I said it earlier, and I wrote down overappraised. Like, as for these degrees and things, yeah, we could care about the degrees and we could care about all these. You're educated, you got this and that business and all that. But whenever you come into a relationship trying to build a family, like, what are we working at? It's a different ball game. So, Sir Hale, you were talking about having an appreciation for the education. I think, these people going through these universities and all that, I don't think they're teaching like how to be married. They're not teaching that piece of it. They're teaching how to build a business. So from a business standpoint, I think a lot of these people, like, yeah, I think Shay, you were making mention, like, as black women and educated and going through and doing the thing, like, that's good. But like, when you do get with someone, what are you doing then? How is your education like helping both of you? Because did you get that education for both of you, or did you get that education for yourself? And I go back to the same thing as for that Peter principle. It's like, yeah, you could have a good leader. Like, and as a matter of fact, with the thing with Peter, why I made mention of that is Jesus didn't tell him, hey, come on out here. He asked to go. He asked to go. So, like, whenever, as for a woman, like, men typically, like, on average, for success, you have more success rate whenever a man proposes to a woman. Of him saying, of the women saying yes than saying no. Why is that? Because he's calculated, he's put it together. So in the sense of, Jesus didn't ask him to come out there. Peter asked, could he come out there? And then once Jesus said yes, that what I'm saying here is that's the man's decision now. He is made to marry you. And then you get out there and you walk on the water and you like, man, this is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Right? And then you start getting, little squishy feelings in your chanclas or in your flip-flops, and it start making that sound. And you don't like that. I don't like it. I know I don't like it. But because where you're at, and what I'm saying is, the difficult parts of marriage. Because of where you at now, you're uncomfortable. And the free will and the typical thing, based upon trauma and all these other things, will then lead you to want to leave and want to go and back on this amazing thing in which you embarked on. Marriage is an amazing thing because it's a reflection of how you're showing up. And I'm glad. Who was it that said show up? How you show up? Who was it? Thank you. It's so important, right? So even going back to like the office, like how you show up. There's a woman I enjoy listening to. I think it's Happy Wife School. Amazing. She says, like, for a woman on the period, like she's on a period, and we understand, like we live with you in an understanding way. It's terrible. I could only imagine, right? But a woman don't show up on a job and she's not cranky, she's not mad, she's not upset that she's on her period. And she's like, nah, I can't go get that from the copier for you because I'm on my period. Nah, I can't make you a sandwich because I'm on my period. No, typically you don't know whenever a woman is going through her cycle on the job because she's able to carry herself in a particular way. But whenever she goes home to her man, she'll let him know I can't do XYZ because I'm on my cycle. So it's the way that you show up besides the circumstances, besides what you got going on. And that goes both for the man and woman. Now, to what Sir Hill was saying, as from a helpmate, we should comfort each other in those times. So I'm just saying, both man and woman, but I'm saying in particular, a good man is going to show up. I don't think, to Shay, your point, based on society and based on culture, based on accountability, when things get rough, I think women is not. I think. Let me rephrase that. Based upon the divorce rate, women initiate divorce 70% of the time, if I'm not mistaken. So based on that number, that's what I'm saying. When things get tough, based upon how conditions are, based upon how you're raised, based upon society, from the accountability standpoint, whenever things get tough, y'all are like, hey, I'm out. So from a purpose standpoint, I think the purpose has changed over time. It could be many different things, but I believe it leads back to personal choice and the decisions in which we make, whether or not we're going to do what it takes in order to do what needs to be done or not. And I'm not negating anything, Shay. It is on both sides.
Oh yeah.
But typically, it's again based upon the divorce rate. Women are the ones to flake out whenever things get tough, whenever their chanclas start to squish, whenever they got water on their feet as they're walking out on that water.
I think, part of the problem is people getting married for the wrong reason in the first place. Everything is so messed up. And I take a lot of stuff back to social media. And a lot of people base love on what social media says love is, what it looks like everybody else is doing. But I do agree a woman is quicker to leave, but men do leave too. I mean, I have a girlfriend who was married to somebody for 28 years, and we all thought that they had the perfect relationship, and he just up and decided that he wanted to not be married because he didn't feel like she understood him. And now, while I do understand that happens in relationships, but do you just leave? I mean, without any explanation and you can't even explain. And of course, now he's spinning the block wanting to come back home. But I just think people get married for the wrong reasons. And I think sometimes relationships change within marriages. And in a lot of times, instead of people being able to work it out, they choose to leave. I mean, not everybody that gets married is meant to be together. And I don't think a lot of times people take marriage as seriously as it's meant to be. Marriage is a code of it's a covenant that you make with God when you yoke up with somebody. That for better or for worse, we are going to work through this. I ain't going nowhere. I chose you, you chose me. But that's not what a lot of people are doing now. And again, everything that we're talking about is subjective, and there's no cookie cutter way to do it. it's all on individuals. And like Eileen said, it's all in how we all choose to show up and, just take accountability for self, because I can only do my part in a relationship, and that person does their part, and we have to both have the same mission of wanting this thing to work. And, and it looks like a lot of people, that's not the goal. I don't know what's going on now, but it's scary.
Is it us?
Huh?
Lost, have
I'm
you went?
sorry.
Oh, I hadn't went. I'm waiting.
Oh,
Thank you, Shay.
I'd like to respond to Shay. I think someone's going next, but I do want to
Go ahead,
raise
sir.
a point. Oh, you sure? No, I don't. I just wanted to put it out
you're
there.
Fine. You're fine. Go ahead.
Okay, listen. If we are over 27, I don't want to hear it's social media's fault. Because
I agree.
because what we can do, problem solved. See, so I think I figured it out. I figured you out. You in terms of this, you're focused on making sure that one side is not to blame. Because culturally, when we have these conversations, if we focus too much on one side, then it comes off as bashing.
Yes.
So in an attempt to make sure that no one feels the brunt of the conversation or the weight, let's just keep it neutral. So Dwayne says women leave when it gets flaky. Well, men do too. So the women are trauma. Well, men got trauma too. Because I think this is the reason why our Black relationships have an issue. Because for years, Black men were examined involuntarily, both privately and publicly. And it was okay because we are the leaders. This if you want to be a leader, this is what it takes to be a leader, right? And then as soon as our women become, we start scrutinizing our women, and we focus deeply on this, and it's uncomfortable, it's not cute, it's not pretty. Then it's like, let's avoid this, and let's equality of blame, right? Not responsibility, but blame. Let's have equality here. And I think that people don't understand why we spend time on conversations this small. If in order for us to develop solutions, there has to be an explicit and thorough examination of the issue, both for us to understand it and then for us to develop a solution that fixes it going forward. And the quality of the solution is directly correlated to the amount of time we spend examining the issue. So if we don't put the proper time in investigating it and calling it for what it is, we risk promoting new marriages just to experience new issues, because just like there are variants of that thing that went around, there are variants of the issues that we deal with in relationships. So I say this to say, we are not bashing Black women. And I think the reason why it comes off this way is because unsophisticated men got a microphone and began to therapize themselves over podcasting and attracted a great following. And women heard the wrong voices, like men hear a lot of wrong voices. And you hear it so much and so frequently that just forget it. You ever heard a song so much you don't want to hear it no more? I done heard this too much. Don't play this no more. I'm sick of it. I think that's what's happening in relationship topics. So when we talk about this, a very needful thing is like, forget about it. It's all of us, everybody working themselves. It's all of us. We all a problem. Don't just blame us. It's like, no, we've got to talk about our women. And I'll say this last thing and I'll wrap it up here. I'll butt it up this way. Men only talk about stuff we care about. The moment men stop focusing on relationships as we know it will cease to exist. So I would hope that women keep these conversations going until we no longer need to talk about it, right? Let's talk about it until we come up with a solution, and then we see steps being taken to address and to resolve it, not just for us, but for the children and the generations following us.
That was good. Lost on you.
I'm going to echo what Sir Hale said. It's about having good faith conversations, and I'll explain to you what I mean. I think a lot of times people like to paint women as frail. I don't. I believe what God said when he says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Because if he didn't think so, he wouldn't have put you in our lives, So my whole thing is this: when it comes down to whether or not you believe that you're fearfully and wonderfully made, that's the question. Do you believe what God told you that you were? And And I think that boils down to insecurities, to be honest. What you try to do is you try to lean on these things that happened in the past as if they're going to continue. That's not necessarily true, especially if you're with somebody who honors you as you should. I think sometimes we like to manufacture problems and troubles in our minds, to delay obedience. I have a saying, delayed obedience is disobedience, because think about it. If like Dwayne said, if your boss asks you to do something, there's no hesitation, there's no kickback, there's no none of that. But for some strange reason, when your man asks you, it's a problem. Let me tell you something. I was watching TikTok today. Thank goodness it's back. And one of the strangest things I saw, a lot of people weren't paying attention, but I was watching this lady. She was cooking, right? And all of a sudden she stopped to do something that I hadn't seen a woman do. I wanted to see if she's going to complete the task. She leaned over, took the top off the garbage can, and she pulled the trash out without the presence of a man there. And I got to thinking, you know what? Y'all can take the trash out. My question to you ladies is this: what happens to you in the presence of a man that all of a sudden you get frail? You don't know what comes next. The question is, how do evolving roles for women in society, i.e. greater opportunities, career, financial independence, affect the views of male leadership? But my question to you is this: what happened to the basics? What happened to kindness? We're not asking for a lot. I was over visiting our Chinese brothers and sisters this weekend when TikTok went down, because I like to to educate myself around the world. You know what I mean? And my thing is this: we had conversations. I learned a little bit of Mandarin, they learned a little bit of English, and with the help of Google, we had some very profound conversations. And one of the things that I noticed is that everybody over there was just nice. I didn't have to ask them to be nice. They were nice because they choose to be nice. And you know what? It was refreshing. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I had the opportunity to use the manners that I was taught as a child to express myself, the gratitude that I was to have a refreshing conversation with people who were mannerable. Oh man, it was a wonderful feeling, man. And I'm here to tell you, I still hang out with them. And you know what I heard? The most profound thing I heard from a little Chinese girl, she's probably about 24, 25. She said the most profound thing to me. She says, we may never understand each other easily, but kindness never needs translation. I said, you know what? I think it was meant for me to be over there today. Because from now on, that's what I'm going to use when I end my shows. You see what I'm saying? We may never understand each other easily, but kindness never needs translation. I think kindness is the common denominator that I think we really need to work on. It really is. How we view each other is what we need to work on. How men view women. Yes, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And then how women view men. Yes, you're worthy to be a leader and to be praised as well. How we look at each other. And I think those are some of the main things that we can work on that don't cost you a thing. It doesn't cost you student loans. It doesn't cost you degrees. It doesn't cost you 4 years to do this or that. It doesn't cost you a whole bunch of money just to have a kind word to say to one another. And I think that's where we need to get back to be honest, because it doesn't cost you anything. And I think we have to examine that from time to time. How do we show up for each other? And I think kindness should be the thing that never needs translation.
Kindness should never be translated. Doesn't have to be translated. What's up? Proto, did you go before we get out of here?
No, I ain't go yet.
Let's go, bro. You can close this up.
Let me close this thing out. Man, ironically, I'm going to agree with a little bit of Dwayne Jones on this last bit. Ironically. Yeah, just like. Hell no, not on that one. Oh man. I get something to say. Like she likes to say, and not to bag on you because the guys done came at you already. But she likes to say marriage isn't for everybody. Some people shouldn't be married and to each other and blah blah blah. Just to that, there's no such thing as the one or a soulmate. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if people are married, then it's on them to work it out. They ain't meant for each other because nobody's meant for nobody. You know what I'm saying? It's just me and you agreeing that this is going to work and we not leaving. Like, you know what I'm saying? Um, to the question though, how do the roles evolve, right? So here's the issue with that, right? This is where I'm gonna agree with Dwayne on. When men win, it's for the team. It's for everybody. You know what I'm saying? I could take care of my family. Oh, I make it to the league. I'm taking care of my mom, my daddy, my aunts, my uncles. We all made it. We just have this, we all made it encompassing thing, right? When women become successful, it's a me. I made it. This is for me. This is mine. You know what I'm saying? Like they might take care of their mama. They'll be the rich aunties type. You know what I'm saying? They don't even mind like taking care of, being a single mom. You know what I'm saying? But as long as they ain't taking care of their men, like that's where they draw the line at. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just, and I understand that they're competing against, they're so-called being successful and competing in a man's world. So they feel like they shouldn't have to take care of a man when it's a man's world and they should be getting it before they get it. But the black community has to understand though, and there's been a plan to, and I think Shay spoke to it earlier, to take us out. You know what I'm saying? And it's worked, but it still wasn't taught. So here's the issue with Gen Xers and baby boomers, right? Like baby boomers understood, hey, we need families to be together. We came through a lot. The baby boomers' parents and grandparents were slaves, essentially. Like, you know what I'm saying? So the need for each other was still prevalent, opposed to when the Gen Xers came, they became selfish, right? It became, yeah, we made it. We got to a point where we're now able to get education and XYZ. And I don't think they just dropped the ball. That generation for me dropped the ball on transferring the idea of family on to the future. You understand what I'm saying? But they was a part of the scam of, the 80s. You know what I'm saying? That's the generation that was hit the hardest with, the drugs and all that other stuff. So that Ronald Reagan era, it hit them, and you know what I'm saying, they wasn't able to overcome it. So they didn't transfer the idea of family to the millennials. But I think millennials are geared towards trying to mend it back together. Even late Xers, like we're geared to mending the nuclear family back together, because we'll look at boomers like, man, that's what we need. We're missing all this property. We don't own nothing. Like everybody's up on us, and family is what's the clear separator in that deal. So when it comes to even the financial stability of that women have achieved, men see it as partnership now. Like it's like my woman got it, I got what I can. We could come together. You know what I'm saying? And with that partnership, we don't feel we got to brunt so much of the load. So that's where women are be like, oh, you guys are weak, you guys are soft, you're not like my granddaddy, this and that. And we're like, well, we all got it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why are you tripping? But she's still so focused on you having it. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that that skit with in the airport where the couple's walking through the airport and the guy's plotting and planning and her brain shut off. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? She's thinking about Taylor Swift or something. But she could be a doctor. You know what I'm saying? And he could be a blue collar guy, but his brain got to go boom, 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 in protection and thinking about how to get there safe. You know what I'm saying? So the roles haven't changed. Women still want a leader, provider, protector, no matter how much money they make. You know what I'm saying? No matter how much disposable income a woman has, they still want that man that can provide, protect, and at the very core thing. And we're looking at women as equal providers and trying to take their opinion. And Sir Hell and Loss, you proven that. Y'all said it. Oh, they can expand my ideas. But Shay and Eileen clearly was like, tell me the details. Tell me what you need me to do. Tell me this. Tell me that. Tell me. And we're like, well, I ain't think I had to anymore. I thought we was equal. You got bread. I got bread. We could put it together. So if we could just go back to, or not go back because we wasn't there, but if we could just stick to the understanding that women need guidance and that's what a woman wants, I think men will be better off. You know what I'm saying? And we could start trying to merge these nuclear families a little bit better. And it doesn't even matter the age. You know, you guys are saying that at this age, that age, a woman's a woman, You know what I mean? And it's just they like Shay likes to say, they different, but they not. Y'all all the same. Y'all all sheep to these wolves. You know what I'm saying? So, or the shepherds. Y'all all sheep to wolves and shepherd. So it just is what it is.
That's what's up. Hey, this has been a really good show. I appreciate everybody for it. What's our hell? You wanted to respond to
Humble dad. He keep making claims. If he didn't say nothing, I wouldn't want to say, come on, he made this claim.
Right, go ahead.
No. So Shay said something. She said, if you give her a seed, she's going to go plant it. So there was something you give her, but there was something in her she brings. You don't have to tell her everything. Age doesn't matter. Now, how many on here have been married at 19 years old? I can speak to this. I got married at 19 years old, and I'm telling you, there is a difference in the age because of development and experience. And a lack of experience, right, for both men and women, you need more. It just depends on your age, right? I'm 37 now with the same woman for 20 years. I've lived through this and I coached through this. Age matters. Experience matters, right? It is going to, your experience level is going to determine what you need more support in. Like when I was younger, my wife didn't cook. Like she cooked every now and again, and I'm be quite honest with you, she burned some stuff. I'm like, listen, I've never had this amount of burnt toast in my entire life. Woman, what is you doing? Right? Because that's what she did. Now, my wife, I can't tell you the last time I cooked. Like she makes spreads for all of us. So as you get older, you learn. Like this is when you learn to listen, you don't have to keep repeating the same thing. Give a woman the direction and give her some time, give her some patience, and she'll figure it out, particularly if she is into you, and that's part of her character. And then the same thing with you as a man. I wasn't always the number one provider, even though I took care of us. I grew into myself. I grew into a leader. I grew into a speaker. I grew into somebody confident. Because you don't become a man because you turn 18 and because your nuts fall. You become a leader and a man when you've experienced stuff and you've shouldered the responsibility and you've taken the praise as well as the blame when things go right and when things go wrong. And that takes time.
That's good. Listen, man, I really appreciate y'all for giving me some of y'all time.
No, man, Sir Hell likes the straw man conversations, man. Like, don't straw man it.
Which one of these were straws? That claim is a straw man argument. That claim is.
No, the idea, because you're talking about the age and experience thing. That's the straw man. That was the low hanging fruit.
No, you brought it up. You said it doesn't matter.
Age doesn't matter. Age is not a factor.
Right.
I mean, if you never get the experience, regardless of the age, you don't have it. You know what I'm saying? So you meet a woman that's 37 that's never been married. She don't know the thing. Your wife's been married. You've been putting into your wife since 19. You've been training your wife since 19, bro.
We're not talking about just marriage stuff. We're talking about life stuff.
I'm talking about marriage, life, whatever. So you need the experience in whatever you're doing. So if we're talking about a woman that can do certain things at 37, is because she's been taught by another man. By the time she's 37 and she meets you, like their situation ain't work out, and now she's making you Willie Earl's sandwich. You like her sandwich because it's Willie Earl's sandwich. You know what I'm saying? If she never had a Willie Earl, she would never make a sandwich. You wouldn't like a sandwich because she wouldn't have one to make you.
You know, so you meet a woman at 37, she's only like a Willie Earl sandwich.
Yeah,
respond to this.
Yeah, that's crazy. That boy said Willie Earl. Yeah. This is in my thought process.
Shout out to Willie Earl.
Shout out to Willie Earl. The age and experience, I get it. I think I was having this conversation with somebody who was saying that the further away a woman gets from their parents, the less likely they will be able to understand how to follow a leader. And so what I mean by that is women need to be training their daughters to be wives sooner, and men need to be training their sons to be husbands sooner, right? And that they both are prepared to come into a union that's honoring. And I agree with Proto. I can say that there is a such thing as the one. It is two people that like each other or appreciate each other or respect each other or love each other, and they're willing to work at it until death do them part. And so if it was so say that some people shouldn't be married, well, if they got married, then they should be married. They shouldn't be looking for ways out. They should be looking for ways to stay in. And so and then transitioning to what I meant by if men are leaders, why aren't women listening? It's because men are telling women what it is that they want in a wife, but women continue to not want to do the thing that men are saying that they should do. But then the women are saying that they want to be wives. And so I'm saying, women, I think you should listen to what the men are saying. And if you don't like what that man's saying, like Ricky says, you're only looking for one. You're only looking for one. The guy that you find is the one that is the one that you're gonna have. And hopefully that's the one that you have until death do you part. That's been all for now. Appreciate everybody. Share, subscribe to the channel. Yeah.
The boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.